Welcome to Growing Forever.
Persist in picturing success. Sometimes the imaging power of the mind produces immediate results for you, but if it takes longer, you can be assured that the results will be even bigger when they do come, provided you do not get discouraged and give up. The longer it takes your mental images to produce results, the bigger they will be, if you hold on to them. The truth of this was recently brought to my attention by a businessman who revealed to me how the imaging law of prosperity took him from a truck driver's job to wealthy retirement in 10 years. In 1940, this man was a truck driver. He lived in a rented house with his wife and children. They did not even own a car. He was making $25 a week and barely getting by. He then heard about the imaging power of the mind, and he decided to find out if it really worked. He began mentally to image the standard of living he wanted for himself and his family. He decided that he wanted his own business, that he wanted to be financially independent, that he wanted to own his own spacious, comfortable home, that he wanted to own at least 2 cars, that he wanted his wife to feel completely free to shop anytime she wished, without having to pinch pennies out of the grocery money or run up charge accounts all over town. In every possible way, he mentally imaged a high standard of living and income for himself and his family. Within a year, he had been made sales manager instead of a truck driver for his company. But he still did not have the house, cars, or his own business and financial independence. When Christmas came that year, he said to his family, "I believe that by next year at this season, we will have our own home and our own car sitting in the driveway." But at the next holiday season, a year later, they were still living in a rented house with no car of their own. His children then reminded him of his previous prediction, and he replied, "Don't give up hope. Perhaps I made that prediction a little too soon, but we will have those blessings, and soon." By the next holiday season, they had moved into a new home, and there was not 1 but 2 new cars in the driveway. This man stated that after he began imaging the prosperous standard of living he wished, while still a $25 a week truck driver, it actually took him 2 years to convince his own thinking that it was possible, and to get his mind to accept those rich mental pictures. But he declared that after his mind was fully convinced he could become prosperous, it was like breaking a hard shell. Suddenly, success began to come so fast he could hardly keep up with it. It was then that the house and 2 cars appeared. This man further stated that it took him 6 years from the time he began to image a high standard of living to completely achieve his goal. But within 6 years after he began imaging prosperity on a grand scale, he had attained it in the insurance business. Within 10 years, he had made so much money, he retired. In fact, he concluded his story on the imaging power of prosperity by saying, "I went from a penniless truck driver to a fortune in insurance in 10 years, but that was only my first fortune. I have now tired of retirement and plan to make my second fortune during this next 10-year period through the same method, by imaging it." The power of a master plan. Charles Fillmore once described the terrific power of imagination when he wrote, "Imagination gives man the ability to project himself through time and space and rise above all limitations. Make a wheel of fortune." Truly, nothing is impossible for the imagination to accomplish. But perhaps you are thinking, "I am not yet well versed enough in the imaging power of the mind to get results as you have described. Isn't there some simple way I can begin training my imagination to produce such results for me?" Yes, there is. An engineer in my last prosperity class devised a practical method for training the imagination to produce rich results. He designed a wheel of fortune to help project his mind through time and space, thereby rising above present limitations and bringing forth happy results. After this engineer began to use the imaging power of the mind through his Wheel of Fortune, he went into a multi-million-dollar construction job, which he is still working on in the Midwest. This Wheel of Fortune he designed has fascinated and helped scores of people. For instance, some ministerial friends of mine told me that they used his Wheel of Fortune idea for a short period and realized a lifetime dream by taking a trip to Europe. Another ministerial friend told me that after she made a vacation Wheel of Fortune, she was able to take her sick mother to Florida in the middle of winter for the warm sunshine which the doctors had prescribed for her. Through a series of events that brought about that Florida trip, they were offered a friend's house on the beach at the height of the winter season, free of charge. There they made friends with neighbors who invited them into their homes for happy social events during their stay. Another result was that this minister was given a beautiful fur coat by one of these new friends just before she returned home to the cold weather. Actually, the Wheel of Fortune idea is a very simple method for putting the imagination to work for you. The engineer made his Wheel of Fortune in this way. On a large piece of poster board, he drew a round circle that encompassed most of the space. In the center of this circle, he placed a picture of some religious idea or scene that denotes a higher power. This could be a picture of the Bible, the Lord's Prayer, or whatever religious symbol means most to you. Under this center circle, he typed the following words: "Divine intelligence is in charge of my life. I am now open, receptive, and obedient to its rich instruction and guidance." This formed the innermost part of his Wheel of Fortune. This idea was its hub. For this innermost part, he drew 4 lines to the circumference of the circle. After dividing his wheel into 4 parts, he then labeled the 4 parts: business, family, spiritual, social, and recreational. In each of these 4 parts, he then placed pictures of the results he desired to achieve in those 4 phases of life. For instance, in the business phase, he placed pictures concerning the perfect engineering job he wished as a result of a job transfer which was pending. Under this picture, he placed these words: "I am now activated by divine intelligence, motivated by divine love, and guided by divine power into my right work, which I perform in a perfect way for perfect pay. The divine plan of my life now takes shape in definite concrete experiences, leading to perfect health, happiness, success, and prosperity." In the family phase of his Wheel of Fortune, he placed a picture of his present home and under it these words, since it would be necessary to sell that house because of his job transfer: "Divine intelligence directs the right buyer to this property. Everyone concerned is blessed by a just and orderly exchange of values." He also placed the picture of a new home and under it these words: "Divine intelligence knows our need, knows where the right house is, and knows how to manifest it to us at the right time." To help his wife through the transition period of moving and readjustment that would come as the result of this job transfer, he placed her picture in this area too, and under it these words: "My wife is now motivated by divine intelligence and divine love. She is also guided by divine power, which now manifests in her every experience as perfect health, happiness, abundance, and success." For their ability to go forth to new experiences in faith, he placed on their Wheel of Fortune the picture of a door and under it these words: "As one door closes, another bigger and better door opens." In the social and recreational phase of his Wheel of Fortune, he placed the picture of a sandy beach with an ocean background under which went the prayers: "We give thanks for the divinely planned vacation under divinely planned conditions with the divinely planned and divinely manifest supply." For his general prosperity, he added these words: "I am now guided by divine intelligence, so that divine order is established and maintained in all my financial affairs." In the last part of his Wheel of Fortune, the spiritual phase, he placed the picture of a church under which he wrote: "I am grateful that faith abides in my heart, and I am divinely guided to the right church in my new surroundings. Near these words, he also placed a picture of a Bible. He then placed this Wheel of Fortune with its pictures and words in a spot where he could privately view it and go over it every day. These simple words and pictures helped his imaging power of the mind to go to work for him. In a few weeks, he was informed that his job transfer would be the biggest promotion he had ever received. For the first time in his engineering career, he would enjoy complete freedom of action, with responsibility only to the vice president of the company. As he continued to view his Wheel of Fortune, he became so confident that their present home would be sold on time that he and his wife went to the new job assignment in a distant state and immediately found the perfect place to live. They then proceeded to set a date to come back and arrange to move their furniture, a date by which they confidently expected their house to be sold. They went so far in faith as to make their plane reservations on that date to fly back, so as to be present for the sale of their house. After they confidently set the dates and made their plans, everything they had expected began working out on time. Their house was sold on time, and their furniture was moved to their new home on the dates they had planned. After getting settled in their new location, they took a vacation in a lovely tropical area where there were sandy beaches along the ocean, as their Wheel of Fortune had indicated. Thus did this engineer prove, in working with the imaging power of the mind, what he already knew to be true in his engineering profession from working with blueprints. Results have to be planned and then visualized before they can become a living reality.